Hey everyone, Nytmare here, and this is Whale FM's Fireside Chat with Artists. In this show, we talk about everything and anything art and crypto in the NFT scene with designers and creators alike, otherwise known as non-fungible tokens. My guest today is Coldie, a long-standing, prominent voice in the NFT and crypto art space whose award-winning works combining mixed media and stereoscopic 3D visuals continue to push boundaries and garner national recognition. Coldie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, can you hear me?
Definitely can.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to get my video going on here, but I can at least show my screen. I'm trying to get the video working, so just bear with me for a second. But yeah, we can get chatting here.
Sure.
It's great to be on here. I appreciate it.
It's ironic that I'm interviewing you today. It's a polar vortex or something up here in the Northeast, and I think it's like 5 degrees outside, so I'm layers upon layers interviewing Coldie.
I love it. I love it. The funny thing, a Coldie, if you look it up on the internet, it's really big in Australia for a beer. So everyone will say, let's go grab a Coldie. So it's, I always laugh at different ways that people interpret it. It's, I've had the nickname since I was in Little League as a kid, and someone just called me that, and it's stuck literally since I was like 10 years old.
Right, and that was a play on your last name as well, right?
Correct. Yeah, my last name is Colditz, which is a German name, and it kind of just went directly together. So most people actually, when I was growing up, it's pretty funny in high school. Everybody, like from my coaches to my teachers to kids in school, I was just Coldie, and it was senior year, and there was somebody who I was acquaintances with for 4 years, and someone called me. My first name is Ryan. And they said, "Oh, hey, Ryan." And the person did a double take because I answered to it. They said, "Wait, your name's Ryan?" Yeah. Like, oh my, I thought your real name was Coldie. So it runs pretty deep. I definitely answer to both.
Nice. So you're trying to share your screen right down in the bottom left?
Yeah, let me get some screen share going here. Wow, I have so many windows open. This is insane.
Okay. I can only imagine.
My gosh. Okay. So yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome. So we don't necessarily have to jump into this artwork right away, but it kind of gives people in the community a sense of what one of my focuses is in crypto art. I do. This is a series I've been doing now for coming up on 3 years, and it's called Decentral Eyes, and it's a play on the word decentralize. And what it is, it's a portrait series where I take 10 different pictures of a person, and then I recollage those into a new portrait, and it's evolved over the years. If you look at what I did 3 years ago, it was a still picture, and then my background is in stereoscopics, which means a truly three-dimensional image, like when you put 3D glasses on and then something pops out at you. That's my pride and passion in life, is doing. So I came into this major issue because I'm really good at making these 3D images, but you need 3D glasses to view them. So without the glasses, it's like doesn't really like make any sense. So I had to figure out a way to get this like idea across to people that didn't have my glasses, to kind of fake the depth. So it's been the most fun experimental journey, and every single one, my mantra is make it better than the last. And there's so many different ways that can be done, but it makes me really push myself. I could replicate the same thing 100 times and maybe they'd keep selling, but to me, that's not why I'm making art. I make art for myself. I make art as a release. I make art as a way to express myself. And if I'm not putting in my side of it, I couldn't imagine anybody else appreciating it the way that I am intending it to be done.
Right. You can definitely see the progression of your works, taking a look at, what was first posted
Yeah,
versus where you're at now.
let me just kind of, while we're here, yeah, that's a great thing. Let me just kind of show you guys. I'll just click on my oldest ones, and I'm 99% on super rare. So this is the breadth of my artistic creations. This is Vitalik Buterin 01. This was the first release, and I made this one 3 years ago, and it's a flat image. It was actually created in the process of making. Since we're here, I'm gonna why don't we really do some sharing? It's actually made in the process of doing this metallic. Let me find it. This one here. So this is called the Lost Metallic, and this one is the Genesis piece, and it was minted on a platform called Rare Art Labs, which was around 3 years ago, prior to Super Rare, and that's where I got my start. And this was the piece I put on there. And
Yeah,
there's an addition.
This piece is pretty ubiquitous when you look at, different things out there that are, articles and whatnot of you. You see this very prominently displayed, or variants of it.
Okay, yeah, and that's crazy to me. I'll go on some blog. I'm just like doing random research, like, holy shit, there's my Vitalik. It's an honor to kind of be woven into the ecosystems and the mythos of what's going on. And kind of when I started this, I was kind of seeing that there was a lot happening, and that we needed to be historians for the movement, not only for ourselves, but for people who look back on this in 10 years. So, not only was I making really cool portraits, but I really felt that there was a need to have a historical context to some of the people who were shaping the space. So, Vitalik was the obvious first decision. I wouldn't be making this crypto art without Ethereum. So, my first subject, and this one was on Rare Art Labs, and there's an edition, I think, of 25. And back then, no one understood scarcity. No one understood supply and demand. It was simply me joining a platform that had really nothing, there was no collector base. It was just a bunch of digital artists putting their artwork up there. So I threw it up there, and there was no like whales. Like Whale Shark was not around. Like,
right.
There was nothing in this piece, and it's such a beautiful story. He stood there for over a year, and no one bought any of them. And who am I to say? I'm just the artist, and I made it, so I can't judge if it was good or not. But I was like, well, this one isn't moving. So at a certain point, once ERC 721s came around, I made this decision that I no longer wanted to have my artworks on Rare Art Labs, and I burned every single token that was not sold, including all 25 of these Vitalics.
Wow.
So, yeah, and it was a bold move, because I, first of all, saw that the 721 token is vastly superior to the ERC 20 token that Rare Art Labs was doing. There was no edition number. You just kind of owned one of the batch. So collectors couldn't say I have the first one versus the 25th one. So there's those issues. And also, in the most beautiful way, is I love my collectors. I have personal relationships with them, and they're people that I want to know. And there was one guy that I met at a very early crypto conference in San Francisco. There was probably 60 people total at this thing. And I had gone to the event coordinator and basically pitched him a free crypto art show. And the guy had no idea like what I was talking about, but he had no like entertainment for his guests. So he's like, dude, like, I said, I'll do it. I was like 2 hours away. I was like, I will pack my car. I will drive down there for the day. It was a 1 day show. I was like, I'll set up the show and I'll tear it down on the same day. He's like, well, why not?
Right.
So it's hustle, right? It's like you gotta hit the pavement if you want to get anywhere. And I had to invest a whole bunch of time for basically, 2 or 3 hours of face-to-face with some crypto people. And, in the process of that, I met this guy who fell in love with with all the art, and he wanted to buy some crypto art. So he bought, I think he bought two pieces. And to this day, he owns the very first Coldie crypto artworks. And he paid like $20 each, and the love of it was he just freaking wanted them. He wasn't gonna flip them. There was nothing about like, what's this thing gonna be worth? He just wanted to support me. And I was stoked that I paid for my gas for the day. I was like, hell yeah, Coldie came up, right? So now when I burned all those tokens, it's him, a couple other random pieces sold. One of them went to Coinbase headquarters, which is pretty awesome that I have my artwork on a digital screen in the headquarters of Coinbase. And besides that, nothing sold. So all of those artworks exponentially rose in value by me burning the rest.
That's incredible. You make mention of going to that crypto conference and kind of reverse engineering this a little bit here. I was very intrigued in learning more about you, how well versed you are in crypto and in blockchain tech in general. I would say, maybe more so than a lot of other artists. So could you tell us a little bit about your journey that led you into crypto and then into the crypto art space itself?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, back in 2010, my cousin, super brilliant guy, just a nerd's nerd, just super sweet, but the guy bleeds nerdiness, right? And it was Christmas time and the family came together. We have a small family, and I never talked to him. We were, probably 8 years apart in age, and he came up to me and he's like, dude, great to see you. I'm in school now. So I was asking him, how's college, having those talks. He's like, it's really good. Guess what I'm doing in my dorm room? I could only imagine. I have no idea. And he's like, we're mining Bitcoin. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I literally had never heard the word. And he's like, yeah, it's really fun. So we're mining it for free out of our dorm rooms. And we don't get a full one every day, but we get like a half of one every day. And, it's just super fun. And I was like, it completely went over my head, right? Like 1000%. If I had taken grandma's like $100 gift that year, I'd be sitting in freaking Tahiti right now, right? But that was the probably the most important seed planting of my entire life. And to this day, I bless him for that, whatever I missed in those years, I gained because the next time it came around, it wasn't brand new. It was in my vernacular. And I actually came about it because I really love listening to like really fringy podcasts and interviews with just odd people. I will listen to a podcast about pretty much anything because I love when they get into their, whether you call it wacky or, whether they are like a conspiracy theorist, however you want to. I don't think that's a very fair word, but however these people are talking, I can glean little nuggets of gold from what they talk about, right? So I'm listening to some dude talking about he thought that there were underground pyramids that were like powering the earth. And I was like, that's an art piece, so like I'm able to soak up these like themes, and part of those themes were monetary. What is currency? What does that word mean? What equates value? Like what? Why aren't we using gold as a really like a monetary currency? Why did we go off the gold standard? Why are we, rehypothecating in the banks? There's a lot of like things that but I'm an artist. I went to art school. I'm no econ major. I hate like really like I hate big numbers. Like in school, my teacher told me about imaginary numbers, and that's when I said, fuck this shit. Like I don't care about your imaginary number, and I'm not going to solve for it. And
Right.
So but through all that, to bring it back around, it was kind of like I was interested in like what is gold, right? Someone was talking about gold, and then they just mentioned crypto, and that was really what like got me interested in that, right? And I don't know how to code, I don't do any of that type of thing, but I saw the writing on the wall, and it made sense to me as a critical thinker that this really did have a chance to revolutionize the world. And it wasn't about the price. I'm an artist. I have no money to like buy any of that. But I saw what it was and what it could do for the world. And I plan to help that be a positive change for the world and not a negative. But that's what kind of got me into it. And I did the most simple thing. I typed in blockchain and art because those are the two things I was interested in, and it was beautiful because all that came up was CryptoPunks, Dada NYC, and Rare Art Labs, and the only place that I fit with my art style was Rare Art Labs, and kind of the rest was just from there.
Very cool. You can definitely see that it was, deeply entrenched, and you have some homage to Snowden and privacy and a lot of the pioneers of blockchain. So I found that very cool. So it sounds like your interest in blockchain and tech coincided with your. I think you said you were classically educated in art, right? And it kind of married up, and you were able to push that forward.
Correct. Yeah. So I went to my high school. I went to a really small high school in Northern California. We had maybe less than 1,000 kids in the whole school, but we were a tight-knit group. I was really fortunate to be around these people, and part of it was we had a multimedia teacher, and the guy was just amazing, and the students in that class were equally amazing. It was kind of like I was in the Renaissance time for the school, and I've stayed in touch. I'm still in the area, and it was just a special group of kids. And we had this graphic design class, and before that, I just hadn't taken it seriously at all. But my teacher saw, and we had to take like computers 101 as a freshman, and I was making these magazines with the those like big books of like 10,000 clip art pictures. I don't know if you were around
Yep.
for those. So it was like Art Explosion 5, and you'd get like
Right.
1,000 or 10,000 of these clip arts, and I was taking those, and it was nothing mind blowing, but it was interesting to me. And my teacher saw that, and he's like, "Well, can you hear me?"
Yep. Sorry, that was something else.
Okay. So he's like, "Hey, I think you'd be great for this graphic design class." So I did that, and it really lighted that fire that I needed as a young kid to like, what do I want to do in life? Like, that's a big thing for like a 17-year-old to like start thinking about. And that was it. I was doing the basketball team's programs for every like home game. We'd do a program that would talk about it, and I was on the team. So I was literally printing, stapling, and bringing the programs up to the front table like right before warm-ups. So I was hustling, I was creating, and then I was like creating on the basketball court. And it was, God, it was such a great time. And from there, I just went into, I went to school for graphic design, and had some really amazing teachers that pushed me way further than I think a lot of other teachers would like care to. And that led me to two really amazing jobs right out of school. I was a like in-house designer for IKEA. So like if you go to an IKEA, my job was to do all the graphics and the wayfinding signs, and get people lost on purpose, but then bring them back around and spend lots of money. And that was great. And then I left that job for LA Weekly, which if you are from Southern California or anywhere in the US, there's a chain of alternative weekly magazines. And I was like 22, and I landed the lead designer job at LA Weekly, and I was designing covers for 100,000 people every week. And it was just like, I was too naive to like really get it. And it was a good time to have that job.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can't imagine at that age if I was doing that. I think I read one of your most successful things you did there was making a headline or a front cover with literally with mustard. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm finding it. Yes. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, that's cool.
So open image. Are you guys seeing the cover here?
Very cool.
Yeah. So this one, I painted it with mustard, and it was funny. It stunk up the whole office for like 2 days. The editor-in-chief came down. She's like, "Why the fuck does the office smell like mustard?" And they're like, "Oh, Brian went down to Ralph's and bought like 10 jars of mustard. He's been drawing a headline for like 2 days." Right. So I'm literally squirting out typefaces, and I was also at the photo shoot with Jack Black on Hollywood Boulevard, and my job was to be like crowd control. So this is like on the heart of tourist central. Everybody is on the street at all times, and Jack Black was like literally right next to me for like 2 hours in between shoot setups and whatnot. And I'll never forget, my job was just say, "Okay, well, keep moving, everybody, keep moving," and try not to draw attention to Jack. The guy comes up to me. He's like, "Oh man, that is so crazy. That guy looks exactly like Jack Black." And I just like, I totally played it off. I started chuckling. I was like, "Dude, so right. Isn't that crazy how close he looks to him?" He's like, "Man, that's weird." I was like, "Welcome to Hollywood." And I just like pushed him along. And so there's like these magical little moments I had young in my life really kind of like solidified why I needed to be an artist.
That's it's interesting. I read a little bit more about your background and your passion for Lakers basketball. Even I'm a Celtics fan, by the way, and I feel like in a lot of your work. Hey, I got 18 still, so I'm doing all right. But,
I know I'm playing. I'm a Lakers fan.
What I was thinking. The ironic thing is that when I was young, because I'm a child of the '80s, also, that was a heated rivalry. But now I really appreciate the intensity and what it gave me for culture when I was young, and having that experience and how it shapes my outlook on the world. And I think you can see a lot of that, culture that you talk about experiencing when you were young in a lot of your work. Even when I was in your CV art gallery and could see the David Bowie painting flashing and things of that nature. I think it's cool how you can carry that over, and it really shines through despite going on a lot of different mediums.
Yes. Hey, this is like super. I need to let my really annoying cat out, or she's gonna fucking drive me crazy. So, chat amongst yourselves for 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
All right, I'm back.
Cat okay?
She's just very neurotic, and she knows how to push my buttons. Yes.
Yeah, I
She's
got a
fine.
Bengal who is incessantly meowing. She's locked out at the moment, or else you'd hear that too. Um,
Okay, I knew this was maybe going to happen, so yeah, we're good.
okay. So you're working at the paper, and you're getting a lot of praise for this cover, and obviously you're messing with a lot of physical art as opposed to just something flat and digital. And I think I read that you kind of carry that over with one of your mentors had shown you how to do some different physical things, and that was just kind of a medium that you really enjoy doing and exploring. So how did you make the jump from then and progress to kind of where you're at now?
Yeah. So, oh man, it's really crazy. So I left LA Weekly for a virtual world startup, and everybody was very worried about this, but I wasn't. And so LA Weekly was like, "Are you sure?" Like, yeah. And it was set up. There's a lot of good backing. It was there's a lot of music and entertainment that interested, and it was making good moves, but it was right literally before the 2008 crash. And when that crash happened, all the money dried up. Startup was over. I was out of LA Weekly. I was in a tough spot. And it was kind of those moments in life where you're at the top, then you're at the bottom, right? Then you're like, oh wow, what do I do next? So kind of rallied myself, and I decided to get out of LA, partially financially, also just to get centered. I liked being in the woods. I had family and friends, so I came home, and it was in that time that I came home that I was actually able to have some more time to make things, and things that I had thought about while I was in LA, but it was just a different time and a different pace. So I actually, I got some canvases, and I made a piece of art. And I don't know if you would call it beginner's luck, but I was doing this very, very difficult process called an image gel transfer. And oh God, it's so difficult to do. You basically are putting a type of glue onto an image, and it soaks the ink into the glue. Then you paste that glue onto a canvas, and they have to burnish the paper off the glue without ripping the glue. It's like,
Wow.
it's way over the top,
Right.
but it was how I could take digital collages, because that's my medium, and make them into canvas art. So I learned it in college. It was in my weird, wacky collage class with my teacher who huffed way too much paint back in the day. And that was the goal, right? So I did it, and it freaking worked perfectly. And it was beginner's luck. And it's on my wall right now. And if there's ever anything that I will save for my collection, it's that piece, because it was just almost given to me. I should not have been able to execute that piece. So, that was the first of it, and that just got me going. So I started making another one, and the best part about the second one was that it didn't work. It totally messed up because I didn't know what I was doing, and literally the top half of it fell apart. It's like if you take your eye off of the glue while you're if you start thinking about something else, literally 40 hours of burnishing paper went out the door. I was looking at the canvas, and there's no way to fix it. I was like, oh fuck. I just spent 40 hours, and now it's gone. And I literally had put it in the trash can. And then I was like, okay, back into problem solving mode. This is essential. So I was like, okay, what do I do? Do I give up on this thing and start over? I've already invested 40 hours of burnishing plus 20 hours designing. I'm in this thing. So I don't know how the F I thought about it, but I decided to burn the canvas with a mini blowtorch. And I took it outside, I got the blowtorch, and I just started burning the frame, burning the area that was not working. And oh my God, when I was done with that thing, it was the best thing I had ever made in my life. And it sold in a gallery. And I was like flabbergasted because it was a gallery in my hometown, small town. And, it was a call for entries, and, they liked the piece. I was like, cool, dude. Like, I actually got a piece. It was my first art show ever. And I was like, whoa, like, way to go, dude. Like, you got an art show. And then they call me like a week later. They're like, your piece sold. I was like, whoa, And, to this day, I still know the collector, and they're super sweet. And I'm just like, man, thank you for supporting me way back then. It was, this was a weird thing, and I'm glad that you like it. And
That's so funny and ironic, really, because I do music myself, and I'll find that I'll meticulously go through takes and have 100 tracks, and then the one that I mess up because I'm aggravated or angry inevitably often will be one of the best ones, and the one people tell you not to delete. So I think there's something really pure in a flaw and a mistake where it's not trying to hit a certain objective. And so it's cool to hear that translates, from medium to medium, creative process, just the way it works, and probably with our subconscious.
Yep. Yeah. No, you were completely right on about that. And it taught me yet again a very, very valuable lesson and opportunity. And I think, people listening, this goes like you're saying, this literally applies to anything in your life. You have to be a creative problem solver. And at the same time, you have to trust the creative process, because we have in our mind the way something should be when we start out, right? But as that process is happening, there's something else going on, like you're talking about in the subconscious, that you got to listen to, because it's those things that might be the most important tangent for that piece. And like it was the burning of the canvas. I have burnt 10 different canvases now, and it's a thing that, like, I want to be part of my artwork forever. It talks about the tangible and the intangible. It's all those things that we're going through in the creative process that our minds are looking for failure points and ways to, like, give us a reason to stop, because maybe we're fearful, or maybe we don't have the self-love or whatever it takes to push through something hard. And for me, when I was able to take a step back and look at the process, like, I was collaborating with myself, if that makes sense. But it wasn't my conscious self. It was like, right. That little bell would go off. It'd say, now it's my turn, motherfucker. You have to burn this shit, and you need, and it starts happening, and you're listening to it in your brain, like, oh my God, that's way better. If I had not burnt it, it would not have been that cool, Right. So it's just, I think it's just really listening to yourself in general. So important, and honoring that, whether it's your gut or your brain, whatever it is that's sending you that little message, it's there for a reason, right? And if we choose not to listen to it, fine. But to this day, that little thing comes up, and now it's easier to listen to it. It's like, there you are. Been waiting for you for a while. Right. Very good. Thank you for that insight. We're a team now.
Yeah, and sometimes, sometimes it takes over and does it without you really allowing it, and then afterwards you realize that what you've created has that value. One thing I wanted to talk about was, you were obviously leaning into, physical manifestation of it with the stereoscopic 3D art, and then you made the leap to lenticular to try to kind of translate that and be able to show it in a digital medium. Did you find your first forays into crypto art and digital art frustrating in that it was so different than doing it physically, or did you find it liberating because of the possibilities with the smart contract and AR, VR, programmable art and things of that nature?
I would say overall that it was liberating. because like I said, I was 60 hours in and then I like failed. Like, so an art piece literally could take me, 80 to 100 hours, right? But when you're working digitally, it does take a lot of time. I'm not negating what it takes normally, but I don't have to prime the canvas. I don't have to, put the stretcher bar and wire it and, ship it and all this other added kind of stress stuff. I could create it digitally and then tokenize it, and it's going to stay flawless, right? You don't have to worry about a flood or your house burning down or getting lost in shipping or insurances. There's so many things that the smart contract fixes for an artist, as well as getting paid every time it sells. I mean, whoa, talk about game changer, like
Right.
who's getting that Warhol money? It ain't Warhol, So, to me, it's so much deeper to be able to create something that, in 100 years from now, once Coldie's, dust in the wind, that, my lineage is going to say, I don't know what the hell great grandpa Coldie was up to, but, this ether is now able to buy like a bottle of water or whatever hyperinflation is going to do to our money system. But, like I'm going to be able to provide. And that's
Right.
just for an artist to do that, especially a living artist. I feel so fortunate. Like, I just feel that, like we're all living in this major inflection point, and we have that opportunity to make our dreams come true. Like, it's literally there every single day with technology and all this stuff, and it's up to us to like make that step. And usually you'll succeed. There's gonna be a bunch of bumps on that road, but if you try, that's usually like 90%.
Right. And talking to the the opportunity afforded to people now because of this ecosystem, props to you, because you played a role in being an advocate for the artists and doing a couple of things. I mean, one of them that I was able to find was your hand in helping getting Super Rare to apply royalties retroactively to works, and even you have an auction method of settlement named after you, right? I've heard people reference it as the Coldie method. So, you've done a lot of advocacy in that regard.
Yeah, there's the first point about the secondary sales. There was a coalition of about 25 artists, and it was Bard Ianson. I might have butchered his last name, but Bard. Matt Kane was really instrumental. Sparrow. There's a whole bunch of people. I was part of that community, and we all used, whatever followings on Twitter and whatever our audiences were to really make a statement. And, we came up with a unified kind of a manifesto that said, hey, this is an inflection point in digital art. We need standards across the board. We needed 10% from every platform to, have the playing field equal. And this was important to us. And it wasn't, it was no type of extortion, but it was like, hey, like, you got to play fair. And they were really cool about it. There's a lot of little nuances that had to be felt out with collectors, because, I think the collectors lost a couple percentages on the secondaries, if I remember correctly. So there was, a little bit of quote unquote negotiations. But at the end of the day, everyone said, yes, we agree. It's the right thing to do. And, the reason we were all doing this, myself especially, was it was for us, but it was also setting the standard for the totality of what was coming. Because once you give up something in life, it's very, very hard to get it back. So we knew that if we were, I think the percentages went down to like 3% secondaries. It was real bad. And we said, no, homie, don't play that. Like, we need 10. And And it was because I knew that if we didn't do that, it would have been 3% for the rest of the world, and then forever, and then it might have gotten cut to 2, and then by after 100 years, maybe 1%. So we had to advocate, because if we didn't, no one would, right? So that was a big deal.
Yeah, and the advocacy helps long term the art itself by allowing people to have the opportunity to focus on it. One of the questions
Yep.
from the community is, as I know, many artists are and creatives are struggling financially. Do you think that digital arts and NFTs could be a game changer for the art scene financially? And obviously, you were trying to do your part in making sure that it can, or at least giving it that runway. What are your thoughts on that question?
I mean, 100%. It legitimizes digital artists, video artists, music. We're doing audio reactive NFTs. Now music and art can equally get paid. Like back in the old structure of music, an album designer would get paid like $500, right? No matter how good of art or what the artist was. And that's highway robbery, right? So now the artist is on equal footing and is able to truly get that shine that they're really, deserved. And, I think we're kind of at I call it the third wave of crypto art. The very first people were the pioneers, the very like Spells of Genesis and the Rare Pepes, and they set the groundwork. And then I would call myself a wave 2, where I came on when the smart contracts were going and there was not much of a market. And now there's wave 3, and that's where many more people, it's more common to be doing crypto art. And I think that it's kind of a growing pains that we're in right now. It's all a good thing, but what I'm seeing personally is that there's a ton of really talented creative people, but what we haven't kind of leveled out is the collector base, and whether that's traditional art collectors or new people just that are wanting to be supportive to the arts, to kind of balance that out, because there's a lot of weight on a couple people, that have supported hugely. I mean, obviously Whale Shark is one of those, and they moved the needle so far forward, and without that we would still probably be in crypto art 2.0. Like it's a huge movement. And I think that artists have to just, everyone listening who makes art, you gotta hustle. You can't just tokenize and hope it's going to come to you. You gotta tokenize it. You gotta hit the ground. You gotta be active on Twitter. You gotta be social. You have to be your own PR team, because there's it's not just a big fish in a small pond anymore. There's a whole bunch of big fish in that tank. So you gotta be your best advocate, and just work as hard as you can and make your very best work, not just make work. Do things that you're proud of, and other people will see that pride. So, and also just to briefly talk about the Coldie method, it's that same thing. I had to problem solve auctions because at the time there was no way on Super Rare or anywhere really to do an auction in a way that was fully transparent, inclusive of a worldwide audience, and had like a finality to it. So I just made it up. I'm no like auction like aficionado. I was like, well, once the reserve price is met, then we'll do an auction, and if I'll give everybody a day, because some people have, someone lives on the other side of the world and they're sleeping, they got a family and a job. But in that 24-hour span, if you were interested in my art, you will be able to find the time if you choose to bid, right? So I wanted it to, I've seen all the games that the collectors play. There's some of them are worse than others, and they're looking for the deal. And I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for everybody to have a fair shake. And the system that I came up with, it solved most of those problems. And I ran it myself. I've probably done, 50 different Coldie auctions, and it's pretty rock solid. And I didn't think about it, but I created intellectual property. Like, that is an auction system, right? It's trademarked. It's a real thing that I made, and it's trademarked, and it's a thing that can be used by other people because it worked for me. And I didn't go into it thinking I want to like create an IP, but again, I kind of got out of my own way and I problem solved. It's the same creative process, right? Like, it's the same as burning my canvas. I had to figure something out, and it took me in a direction that I wasn't intending it to, but for the better for myself and everyone else. Now other people, like, they saw it worked, and now there's demand on platforms to use the Coldie method, right? And because the community is telling them that it works. So it's not me like tweeting every day saying, hey, check out my Coldie method. It's like, no, it works. And I hope that it can become, something that's used by, more people in a more, official way.
Yeah, definitely. I think, one of the most impressive things to me about you is you have this great mind for the, the commercial aspect and what needs to be done for the space, while still being able to focus on the creativity and the things that you do that are really progressive with, physical art as well as different manifestations here in digital. So I just, that's a unique skill set. And, if there was a base stat points, like in an RPG or something, you're like 10 and 10 in both. And so I feel like you're a rare breed in that regard. So definitely props to you on
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I have a number of questions from the community.
Before we do a question thing, I don't want to toot my own horn, but there's one other thing that I'm super proud of. And that is, in the process of selling art, I have used a pretty large amount of my earnings to reinvest back into the space. And by doing that, I'm all in on crypto art. I support other people that I surround myself with, whether they're old, OG crypto artists, all the way up to fresh people on Rarible or, makers or known or super rare. I ingest art that I appreciate, and it comes from what I earn. I'm not a rich man. Like, I have a family and bills, right? But I see the need to signal how much I believe in crypto art. And by doing that, I've amassed a collection that I'm super proud of, and it's still growing. And I look for the same intangibles that I try to create, right? I don't know what I want until I see it. And when I get that chills down my spine and the shivers, that's when I buy. And I can't tell you what it is, but if you look at my collection, I think you could get a sense of what I like in art.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to ask you if there's any particular artists that right now you're really feeling, or you have a particular NFT that you're really proud of that you'd like to point out to us and for us to take a look at.
That's a tough question, because I know I would miss a lot of people. One of my favorites, I'm really into generated art, like GAN artworks. I think that, there's some people. Are you guys seeing my super rare screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not at the moment.
Oh. Weird. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. So, in terms of like individual artists, I would say, just so I can scroll and talk. I know we're on a time limit here. I'll keep it quick. Quasimondo.
I'm not sure if we actually have a limit. And Lisa, do we have to cut off at 3 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, or?
No, you can actually go as long as you wish.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I can go probably. Yeah, I can go past a little bit. So I mean, I love Quasimondo. Like, this is a super sweet piece. And you just got to watch the whole thing. It's a long loop, but God, it's called split personality. I love people who use technology and art together. Like Bobby Barrett was one of the pioneers in the space. I love Matt Cain. He does some really fantastic programmable art. I really see that when we look back on this movement as being some of the pioneers of this next wave of digital art. And let's see, who else do I really love? I love going on this Dirk piece, so AR and VR art. I'm super in love with. This is a piece I got. I collect shaman artwork. So I mean, this thing is just. You can see my screen?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
The detail.
So like just the detail on these things, like that's the art that I want. I could have never went looking for it, but I knew that it was what I wanted. Right? This is another really sweet piece I got recently, and topical things to where we're at in life. Central banks, fiat. This is just so tasty.
Wow.
It's just wild. I mean, I could have never dreamed that I wanted that, but I couldn't live without it. But yeah, it keeps going. Every day I'll see something new, and I'm always on Twitter just scrolling art. I'm on Rarible. I'm all over. Just as an art lover, I buy art all the time. But when I see the piece, then I investigate the artist, and maybe it's not that specific piece, but I'll get to see their catalog, and maybe there's something that's been sitting around for a year that's like, oh man, like score. Pick that up. So, to the artists listening, at the same time, there's so many artists coming in here. Don't be discouraged. Like, I know that we're all making really good stuff. And, I did the exact same thing 3 years ago. My Vitalik never sold. I was on selling stuff for like $40. I was stoked. But art is a very long game. Like, if you look at artist biographies, like, you should read your favorite artist biography, because the chances are that they probably never made anything in their life, and they probably lived in squalor, right? But because they gave themselves to being an artist, that is what ended up being the winning ticket, right? So I go through that. We all go through that, whether it's in art or whatever. But freaking stand up for your passions, right? Don't give up, because that's really all we have is our passions in life.
Incredible stuff, and an incredible time to be a lover of art right now, quite frankly. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, what are some of the projects that you're currently focusing on? I know, you recently dropped a collab with Ferocious, which a lot of people wanted me to ask how that came about, and also looked like you alluded to something new happening. And you also have the Pranksy boxes, which you're curating and things of that nature. And I'm sure you have, a new series of your own you'd like to share. So if you could kind of guide us on where we can hone in and get more of Coldie right now.
Yeah, awesome. So me and Ferocious, I've been friends with him for a while. And I mean, while he's been in crypto art, but we've gotten to know each other, and it's just really fun just helping people. He had questions along the way, just basic, tokenizing, or just random questions, and we got to be pals through it. And the whole time it was like, man, we got to do something. And finally it's like, okay, now's the time. And we just started chipping away, and he had done a piece that it really spoke to me. The words of it, the way they use the vernacular and the little short quips of vocabulary, just so profound to me. And that specific phrase, here, I'll pull it up. It really hit me hard. So it was like, I was so excited to work on this thing. And he sent me a flat picture, and with all the layers, And it was understood that I was going to take it and do my animation method on top of it. Can you guys see that one?
Yep.
Okay, so I got this thing as a flat image, and I deconstructed it. I clipped everything apart. I decided that we needed to have this runway of mountains, like this intro, because it says, does anybody ever wonder how I'm doing? Right? So it's this melancholy thing. I was like, we got to start far away and zoom in and make a little short movie out of this thing. And it was just so magical to go back and forth, and we were just vibing on each other and just loving it. And it ended up coinciding with Super Rare's auction formats, which they're using the Coldie method. So I gave them permission and they licensed that. And so now I was the first one to use the Coldie method on Super Rare, right? So it was this kind of weird honor to be using my own method for the first time. And it was just a super rad project. And because of that, it was funny, we decided 2 days ago on Twitter live that we were going we're doing it again.
Right, we saw that, yep.
And it's just fun because you can make decisions like that in life. You don't have to hem and haw. It's nope, we're in. Let's do it. So that'll be coming. It's definitely we just decided 2 days ago. So I'll keep you guys posted on that one. The Pranksy box, it could be today. I don't know if it's today or tomorrow, to be quite honest. But you got to go to NF. Let's look. Let's see if this is box. Boxes. Ooh. There we go. So this is a super rad project, and anybody who knows me knows that I am definitely in the scarcity game. I think that quality over quantity is in the artist's best interest most of the time. This is a super interesting experiment because it's a large edition. So there's oh wow, is it live now? No. It's coming soon, guys. So if you're interested. So basically there's 500 boxes, and inside of the box there is, I think, a total of, it's about 10 NFTs, and I'm headlining it. So I curated the set with Pranksy had a couple favorites that he threw in there also, which was awesome. So you're getting a whole bunch of really good art. I've seen it, and everybody really pushed themselves. I titled it the Innovator Box, and it kind of speaks to all that. And for half an ether, you're going to get a really nice set of art. And the really cool thing that I'm not sure he's really talked about was that these are all numbered, but they're randomly numbered. So it's not like some other systems around. I don't need to drop names, but there's it's hard sometimes to get the number one. But in this one, it's randomly generated. So it's kind of like the Willy Wonka movie where you're looking for that golden ticket. It really levels that playing field. And that was one of the big things that pushed me over into wanting to really do this, was I wanted that person who was, money is hard to get these days. And, ether is hard to get and it's hard to give up. But I really wanted that person who was I want this art and I don't know what's going to happen, but I appreciate it. I want that person to get the number ones. To me, that chokes me up. To me, that's the beauty of collecting, is when the underdog wins. So this one, it's set up for that. So when I heard about that part of it, I was totally sold. I made a piece of art that I think is one of my best. I didn't hit the easy button because like I said, every piece needs to be better than the last. So, there's going to be 500 of these, I think, very cool Coldie art pieces. It's a I teased it on my Twitter. I don't think it's on my other machine, but we're proud of it. It's one of my landscapes. I do these like post-apocalyptic landscapes, and this is part of it. It's not the whole thing, but I do these like post-apocalyptic landscapes, similar to like my async piece. I've done a couple on super rare in this style, so there's a series. And now I've never done this style before, but now that I'm using After Effects better, I've now made this an After Effects animated landscape, which is the first of its kind. So I put a lot of passion and effort into this because, again, I want people to appreciate art and not just get some like B-side that I had on my hard drive from a year ago. I wanted to give more value than what they're paying. Even like, I want my piece to be worth 0.5 ether each, so,
Right.
so I'm super proud of that one. Please, you guys go to the, what is that? NFTboxes.io and follow Pranksy, because I think it's either like today or tomorrow, and I think it's going to go pretty quick. So get it on there so you don't have to get it on the secondary markets. Also, just on those, it's cool. There's going to be like a week where the boxes stay sealed for a week. So there's like secondary sales that can happen there. But then after that, the boxes open up. So there's a couple little phases of collectability. So it's a great experiment, and I'm super happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's so cool, the different levels of gamification that that we're allowed to do with these smart contracts. And you talked about the different iterations and different levels, level 1, level 2 of where things have been progressing. I think the next level is really these types of things that entice people outside of the circles we already have to get involved in the space. And we're fortunate here at Whale to have had leadership that kind of took a stance and said, okay, whether it's gaming assets, whether it's art assets, a number of different things, we want, when the general population's coming in and not just people already involved in crypto, we want, that population to grow. So it helps the whole ecosystem and the whole art scene thrive. And the things like this definitely help that, because people that may be on the fence are excited about the opportunity to maybe get a rare. You have things like NBA Top Shots bringing in, whole different paradigms of audiences. So it's an exciting time. And, everybody here is really excited about this project that you're doing. And I would have been raked over the coals if I didn't ask you about it.
Yeah, no, and I just pulled up the page. It looks like Saturday evening GMT. So figure out your time in that situation. And yeah, check it out. There's some really awesome people. Let's see, Rob Ness, because he's like the trash art innovator, right? So I try to pick people in different genres that kind of fit the mold, and I couldn't get everybody. I that's the hard part of like curation, but it's an eclectic group, so that it's not just like Coldie style art. You're going to get stuff across the board. So if you just want some exposure to general quality crypto art, this is a fantastic place to drop half an ether. It's vetted, and yeah, I'm super proud, and and I'll open this up if in general, if people want to hit me up, just shoot me DMs. My DMs are open. I'm always around to say hi and shoot the shit. Let's see, what else am I doing? I have a major. So myself and Lady Phoenix, we have a company called Universe Contemporary. We've been running events, and I started doing events on my own about a year ago, and in crypto voxels, and they went really well. My first one, it was a Bitcoin art show that I did because the in-person Bitcoin show got canceled, and I was one of the artists there, and I just wanted to show my art, and I was like locked out of doing that. So I threw up a quick show, and it quickly got out of hand, and we ended up getting 5,000 people in 3 days to my plots, and it helped a lot of people kind of get through those like really depressing first couple days of scaredness and shock. And, that led me to a cat art show. I ended up, this is really cool. So I ended up helping raise, it was $16K in Ethereum for a cat hospital. They were they were stoked, right? And the most beautiful thing about it was it coincided with the very bottom of the Ether charts. And so they got all this Ethereum at 240 each. And, I told them I am not a financial advisor at all. However, I think you should, hold on to it if you don't need to cash it out. And they haven't touched it yet. So they're up to like oogles more,
Wow.
like 90K or something. So,
Awesome.
So I'm all about community, right? So I like helping all that stuff. And we're doing, we did Crypto Art Week about 2 months ago, followed by Crypto Basel. And the next one coming up is Crypto Fashion Week. And that's February 22nd through 26th. And Lady Phoenix is definitely on the tip of the spear with this one. She's got some really fantastic people coming in from outside of crypto, as well as people who are already in crypto. So definitely watch out for Crypto Fashion Week. And then the main event that we are doing is it's called Metaverse. It's a crypto art, a Metaverse Biennale, which is a word known in the high-end art world, where it's kind of like the best of the best of everything. It's kind of like the rounding up of the troops. So, we have about 30 plots that are all adjacent to each other, and we're setting up a bunch of galleries, museums, art installations. There's going to be an open area where anybody can post their art. We're really doing a massive community event, and that's March 26th. So definitely follow me or Universe Contemporary on Twitter. Those are super. God, I wish I could tell you some of the people coming in, but what we're doing is we're bringing in traditional artists from the high-end art world and being their Sherpas into crypto art. So it's quite proud of it. I wish I could tell you more, but it will be at the end of March.
Again, man, you're a true pioneer and champion of the space. So I'm sure everyone here is excited about what you do and thankful for it as well. As an aside, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, as an aside, I love your human nature series, but after hearing about your cat, I kind of have reservations about it now.
Oh, man. Yeah. So let me tell a quick story on that one. So I made friends when I moved home, back to that story. I left LA, came back to my tiny ass small town. I was on Facebook, and it gives you like those suggestions of people that you might want to meet. And there was this old guy. He was like 65, right? Wild looking dude with a fat mustache and beard. And he had 3D glasses on. I was like, wow, like I'll chat this guy up. Right. So I randomly hit up this dude, and come to find out he is the 3D art pioneer from the 80s. And he learned how to do 3D from the same guy that taught me how to do 3D 20 years later. And he taught me everything he knew, and he shot photographs of nude amateurs in the 80s and 90s. And he has he gave me all his stuff. He actually recently passed, and I have his whole collection of these fantastic 3D nude photos. I was like, what do I do with these? Like, what do I do? So even while he was living, I showed him these things, and I was like, dude, check this out. He's like, whoa, like blew his mind. So, I put the cat heads on it because I wanted to honor the anonymity. I also kind of wanted to make a statement about what does it mean to be nude? Like, animals are nude all the time. We're just bodies. Right. So by putting the animal heads on it, it kind of, I feel, doesn't objectify the human body, but it kind of level sets it with the totality of life. We're all really just animals. We just might have a more evolved brain. So, and it works with 3D glasses. It looks freaking sick. That I love that series too. And one little teaser. Also, I don't even know if I should bring it up, but I'm venturing my art into the VR space in some pretty interesting, innovative ways that haven't seen done yet. So that'll be happening in the medium-term future. And people who have headsets, you'll be able to experience my artworks in full color stereoscopic 3D.
That's awesome news, especially
no one knows that, so that's a whale drop for you guys.
Yeah, no, we get exclusives here, so we appreciate it. Especially with how progressive you've been with the mediums already to this point, we can only imagine how you would really push the needle forward. So wicked exciting stuff. I want to make sure I take a look and get to some of these community questions. If you got a couple more minutes.
Yeah, I got about 15 in me.
Sure. Some people have asked, what are some books or resources that you would commonly use to draw inspiration from or to improve your techniques as you've gone about evolving?
That's a really good question. I think a lot of it is, I would say really the culture I grew up with kind of like set the stage. I grew up with the Viewmaster cards. So in terms of like 3D images, I had Viewmaster reels. In terms of my design aesthetic, I was a grunge rock baby. So I loved, Pearl Jam and Soundgarden albums, and the artwork that they made really made an influence on me. At the same time, traditional fine art, by yourself, go to a freaking Goodwill and find yourself an art history book, and in some genre you like or you don't, and just absorb. Like I had to sit through a whole bunch of art history classes, and I sucked at those classes, but I have a visual memory, so I was able to soak in the visuals in certain ways, like with color palettes or layout styles, that I think if you can kind of look at things but not like copy them and more like appreciate a whole bunch of art, it's gonna subconsciously work its way out into what you're doing. I think that right now it's hard with COVID to go to galleries, but whenever you have a chance to go to an art fair or an art gallery, just surround yourself with creativity, and it all soaks in really interesting ways.
Very cool. Someone else had asked, do you see the future of real life versus digital art galleries changing or progressing faster because of COVID and keeping everybody inside?
Oh yeah, I think the metaverse is it's like that same right thing at the whoops, I was showing. Sorry about that. There's all kinds of stuff on here. Well, I don't really care. Okay. I think the metaverse is like super important because while we are stuck inside, we can actually connect with people and places that we otherwise wouldn't be able to. We're able to show our artwork to somebody who lives in Europe. We're able to have a video conversation with somebody on the other side of the world while in the metaverse. And I think the friendships are really going to harbor itself even better for selling art.
I definitely agree.
Hold on. Give me 1 second here.
Sure.
Are you guys there?
Yep, back with us.
Okay. Yep. Sorry. Live calls.
No problem. No problem. Someone asked, it sounds like you keep a great relationship with collectors. What happens when you meet one you don't like? Or, in a related note, how do you deal with working with projects that don't have an alignment with your own artistic process and style?
Yeah, I overall, I'm actually I really love, I would say, all of my collectors, because I've had some in the past that again, don't need to get into super close details, but I saw their actions and they were trying to game the system at my expense, and I just don't appreciate that from a person to a person situation. So I made it known, and I feel better that I don't associate with people like that in general. And it's a nice way to kind of weed out the collectors that might not have the artist in their best interest. And by doing so, you also get really passionate collectors who are your champions. One of my first collectors is a guy, VK Crypto, who has many of my early works. And it's really beautiful when, someone will say something totally off color about me, totally untrue, or just taking a jab at me. Someone like VK will just come out of the shadows and just totally have my back, and it's because I got to know VK. We would have chats. We would just talk about existential life and, getting to know each other. And it makes it more human than just how much is it? Here's half an ether, I'm out, and I'll never talk to you again. It's a relationship. And, on the inverse, when I don't have a good relationship with somebody, do I really want them to have my art? Not really. Art is a creation. It's like a life. And to me, it matters where those things go when I'm done. So if I can know that they're in good homes with good people, then it's even celebrated when they sell a piece. They'll write me and say we'll just high five each other. I'll be like, dude, thank you, congratulations. We're all in this together. And I think that is something that we all should be looking at while we're in this space, because it's so small that we should be looking for our tribe. This whale community. You guys have found each other, right? It's an ecosystem, and in the same way, I have, in my little niche of Coldie ecosystem, I have people who are my champions who want to know when things are dropping. They'll randomly hit me up and they'll say, hey, I heard about so-and-so, or can you tell me more about this piece? Or, it's more than just the transaction. It's a dialogue.
Right. And a genuine appreciation for the art, not just the monetary aspect. Definitely.
Yeah, because anybody can flip anything. That's easy.
Right. But I'll say, I think you definitely made some new champions here today with some of the DMs I'm getting. People are very excited about
sweet,
how you present yourself and a lot of the things you'll be doing. One other question, someone asked, what are your thoughts on the gatekeeping methods of minting platform?
God, that's part of our growing pains that we're in. So, I think that art should be a democratic thing. I think anybody should be able to mint anything at any point. I think that the crux of that is that what was created, these platforms that were created, they're getting overrun. And I'm not standing up for them by any means, but there's a situation where, let's say Super Rare, for example, it's just part of their business model was onboarding, right? That's just the way it worked. It wasn't an open system. So, that's just a different business model. And I don't know their business at all, but I think people just need to understand that there's certain platforms that have that onboarding, and I don't you can call it that, but I think that people should not get hung up on the platform as much as people need to get hung up on the art they're making. There are places anybody right now can go on Rarible, like Sean Oko Lennon. minted. Like we have a Beatles son that minted on Rarible. Like it's open to anybody. And I think that people should be more focused on what they're producing and the relationships they're making. And if you're trying to, be on a quote unquote gated platform, that, there's always that opportunity, but just partly because of the influx of artists, it's just, God, I heard the wait list is just extremely long. So instead of waiting and saying I'm only going to do it when I'm on super rare, you could be missing out on a major opportunity to just be creative. So just start minting. You can mint right now on OpenSea or Rarible, or there's others out there. Just start creating and get out of your own way. Like maybe that is a reason to look at yourself and see if that's like a reason, something that's stopping you from progressing.
Very good insight. Definitely appreciated by the community, I'm sure. And, I was already a big fan just looking at your art. I'm an even bigger fan after hearing how impressive you are talking in person. And especially after you dropped a Homie the Clown and, grunge rock reference. Now I'm like your ultra fan. So be ready for those DMs. Coldie, thank you so much for spending a lot of time with us this afternoon. We all really appreciate it.
Yeah, I had a blast. It was great talking to you too. Stay in touch, and this is just an open hello to the whole whale community, and Whale Shark. I've appreciated his support through the years. He's been awesome, and keep it up, everybody. You guys have a really cool thing going, and my DMs are open. Follow me on Twitter. That's what I do, and let's just build community, right? That's why we're all here.
You'll get a DM in about 5 minutes. So don't worry about that.
Yep, I love it.
Thank you, Coldie.
Well, thanks, everybody. Peace.
Later.